Thank you, Julita. It's great to be here. My name is Marek Nocoń, and today I'll be talking about the new collaboration feature. I'll be talking about the feature that we'll be introducing, and I want to show you the blocks that the feature will be built of, so that you will be able to take these blocks and then extend it even further. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Marek Nocoń. I'm living in Katowice, Poland. Currently, I'm the knowledge team leader at Ibexa, and in April, it will be 8 years since I joined this company. This is not my first role. Before I joined the knowledge team, I was the technical leader of the quality assurance team. Personally, I really like music. I like playing the guitar. I also love cats, and on Saturday, so in 2 days, I'm picking my first cat, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I also love books written by Terry Pratchett, so the Discord series. I'll be talking about the collaboration feature. So I want to explain to you why we are introducing this feature. Then I will show you a quick demo. I will show you the building blocks, and then explain the core concepts, and then we'll build a different kind of collaboration together so that you will see how extensible this feature is. And of course, if you have any questions, as with the other presentations, you will be able to ask them at the end of this session. The story, which I'm about to tell you now, was not part of the initial draft of this presentation. When I was talking with the people inside the company and mentioning that I'll be talking about collaboration, a friend of mine, also from the knowledge team, Adrian, who is here with us today, and he's also presenting tomorrow, he said to me, Marek, you're talking about collaboration, and I know of no better example of collaboration than the Apollo 13 mission. And the Apollo 13 mission was one of the missions prepared by the Americans to send people to the moon. The mission was supposed to land on the moon, and the takeoff was excellent. Everything was going fine. But a couple of days into this mission, something happened. Something that made the crew utter the words that you might be familiar with, and that is, Houston, we have a problem. You might have heard this sentence. In reality, they said, okay, Houston, we have a problem here. They had to change it for the movie a bit, because real life is not as movies, as you probably know. But what happened was that one of the oxygen tanks blew up, which put not only the whole mission in danger, but actually their lives. Because without oxygen, they would not be able to finish the mission, they would not be able to come back to Earth. And what happened next? Because they lost one of the oxygen tanks, but they did not lose the ability to communicate with the mission center that was still on Earth in America and was full of engineers ready to help them and to make everything that they can be brought back to Earth. So one of the things they had to do, they had to build a special device they nicknamed the mailbox that was able to reduce the levels of carbon dioxide in the spacecraft. Otherwise, the crew would not be able to come back to Earth. And if you look closely at this picture, you might see that there is actually duct tape there, because they have had to improvise so many things and use the environment that was available to the astronauts to build this device. And what's the best is that they succeeded. To get the crew on Earth in the Mission Control Center and the astronauts on the space shuttle were able to communicate to come up with an idea to bring them back on Earth safely. And that made this mission a successful failure, because they did not land on the moon, but everyone was back at home safely. So that was really important. And probably, by the way, they also set the record for the longest distance real-time collaboration, something which I'm sure won't be that easy to beat. Ending this detour right now and coming back to Earth, coming back to a much more mundane environment. The environment which I know you are all familiar with, and that is the office. And the statistics tell us that office workers spend most of their time collaborating with each other. On average, 42%. And as Julita mentioned, I wanted to do a quick show of hands, and please raise your hand if you feel that you spend most of your day at work collaborating with others. Okay, I see at least around half of the people raise their hands. So you can probably tell why we are talking about collaboration today. And we are not the only ones talking about it. The feedback we have been receiving from you, which I pulled together from the product board, the insights show us that you see the need for collaboration in Ibexa DXP as well. You are talking to us that when someone is requesting the approval, like if the CEO of the company comes to the editors and tells them, okay, I want to see the preview of the blog post you are working on, you don't want to tell your CEO, okay, you need to create an account. Or even in a worse scenario, okay, you need to contact IT so that they can set up the account for you. You just want to share this with him so we can access it. And it works the same way when it comes to third-party agencies. So they might not have the account in the Ibexa DXP. It's not true they will need it for the second time. So you want to just share that with them without any additional hassle. And this is something we'll be tackling using the collaboration LTS update. And as Łukasz already mentioned, and as Konrad already presented, one feature that will be an LTS update, same as the AI that was already released, the collaboration LTS update will be available as there will be additional packages that you will be able to install using Composer. It will be available for the current LTS, so that's Ibexa DXP 4.6, and for all the commercially sold editions, so headless, experience, and commerce. And it will bring two components. One is the real-time editing for online editor, and the other is the sharing of content with external users and making the collaboration on drafts easier. This feature right now is in active development. The planned release date is this quarter, so Q1 2025. And that's all for the introduction. Now let's jump to a quick demo, how it will work. But I need to exit the presentation. Okay, so right now I'm in the familiar view of Ibexa DXP. I'm viewing some content, and let's start creating new content. I'll be creating a blog post here, or sorry, some news article, which when I start creating it, I'll be redirected once again to the familiar interface of the edition of the draft. And there are two new things you might recognize here. First, you have this widget showing that there is one user, because currently it's only me, and that's editing this draft. And the other thing you might see is this share button, which is, as you can probably imagine, connected with this feature. Because when I select it, I get the opportunity to invite other people into this editing session. So I can invite internal users, so editors from the company I would be working on if I went at Ibexa, and I can invite them to collaborate with me. So when I selected I want to invite Amy, I can also specify in which role I would like Amy to take part in this session. So we are introducing two scopes that I can invite Amy to edit this content with me, or to just preview that. So I'll be inviting Amy to edit it with me. And I can continue adding additional users. So I will also be adding a second editor. In this case, it's Joshua. And I would like Joshua to be able to just preview what I'm working on. But the collaboration feature is not only limited to internal users. We also want to tackle the use case that we have covered, that I've mentioned previously. So I can invite external users using their email, people which do not have account in Ibexa DXP and do not need to create an account to preview the draft that I'm working on. And here's one important thing. For internal users, so people with account, you can invite them to edit or to preview. But for external collaborators, you can only invite them to preview. So let's invite myself. And now I will show you how it looks from the perspective of the people who have been invited. So right now, I'm logged in as Amy, and using the notification area that has been mentioned already by Adam. And as Adam mentioned, we'll be also redesigning and improving this area. I can see that I have a notification, and I'm invited to collaborate. Collaborate on the news post that I started writing. So the invited user will be presented with a similar interface, but there are some changes here which you might notice. First of all, fields that are not based on the rich text field type, so not using the online editor, they will be disabled. So far, you'll be only able to collaborate on the online editor or rich text-based fields. And the invited person does not have the permission to publish the content. So they can add additional content to that content item, but they cannot just say, OK, it's good to go, I'm publishing this. So this is the view for the internal users when they are invited to edit. And now I will show you how it will look like when someone is invited to preview the content. So in this case, I'm logged in as Joshua. And again, for him, it will be a notification telling him that he is invited to preview a content. And when this notification is visited, I can just redirect it to the preview view of that content item with all the options like selecting the mobile view, the tablet view, or even the site access selector, so I can see how it will look like in different site accesses. I'm not showing you the external contributors because for them the invitation would be sent through email. They will get a special link and they will be redirected to this view as well. So when I click this, I think it will just show what I've already mentioned. So all the preview options that we have in Ibexa DXP. And that's it for the interactive demo. But there is one thing that I cannot just show you using interactive demo because that would be a waste of opportunity. So probably you've seen this already during the keynote, but the question that you all have right now probably in your mind is, does it work? And as you can guess, because otherwise I would not be showing this, if I just only find my mouse, the answer is that yes, it works, and we can use all the online editing features, so I can even make it bold and make it a header. So this is something that will be coming in Ibexa DXP pretty soon. And now I would like to go back to the presentation and tell you a little bit more about how it works under the hood so that we can build something else together. OK, so now that was the UI part, that is the feature that we are building. And now I want to tell you how the feature is built. So first of all, one thing that I was already mentioning, the real-time editing. For that, we are using the collaboration feature that's built for CK Editor, the widget that online editor is based on. And for now, it will be only supported by the online editor fields, so the rich text fields. It will support the editing both content items and products. And I cannot say anything else about the more details will be shared soon. So that's it for the real-time editing part. And now diving even deeper into the backend part, I would like to start with one new domain concept that we are introducing, and that is the concept of the collaboration session. So there is a new service in the public API called the session service, and it mirrors the design from the other services that you might be already familiar with. So you have all the methods to create sessions, update sessions, and delete sessions. You can a session has at least two properties. So a session has a token, which you can think of as an identifier of the session. And you can choose your own, or you can be just generated randomly. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with how they look like from other services. And a session has an owner, because as I've mentioned, we are limiting the UI for the people who are invited to the session. So we also need to be able to say, okay, this person is the owner, this is the person who created the session, and we are able to divide the participants between the owner and the rest of them. You are able to search for session or retrieve sessions, of course. You can use the simple identifiers or the token, but there are also some more complex queries that will be built in. And another part of the puzzle that you should be familiar with when talking about collaboration are the participants. So participants are the users who are invited to give a collaboration session. And you can, of course, add them, update them, and remove them. As you have seen on the demo, we are introducing two types of participants, but this will be built in. So we are dividing the users into internal, who already have access to Ibexa DXP, and external, which do not need the account. And the last important part of the public API, that there is a helper method which allows you to determine whether the current user is the owner of the session, so that you can use that in your business logic. As usual, something that mirrors the existing design of our APIs, and something we've probably already seen multiple times is, of course, that there are events you can hook into. So you can create your own listener, create your event subscriber, and change the business logic before something happens or before or after it happens. And you can modify the execution. And there are events related to session creation, and there are also events related to managing participants. So before a participant is added or after, you can do additional actions. The PHP API is not the only thing which will allow you to interact with the collaboration sessions. There is also a REST API that will be released, and it will mirror what is possible using the public API. Mostly, I've added some of the endpoints, and as I've already mentioned, this feature is not, it's still under active development. I think one of these endpoints was added this week. So I had to update this slide, and this list probably might also change a bit, but you can create sessions, you can get details of a session, you can also update the sessions, and you can manage participants using the REST API. So if you are building a headless app, you should be able to use the collaboration feature as well. Another domain object which you will encounter when working with the collaboration is the invitation. And invitation stores the data about the invite that has been sent to the user. So you can create invitations, you can update them or delete them, something that just mirrors the experience of working with our API. And there is one built-in little feature. So by default, there is an event listener that when a participant is added to the collaboration session, then an invitation for that user is already sent using the invitation service. So these two domain concepts are connected already, but this behavior is also configurable, and you can disable this auto-invite feature with just one line of YAML configuration. As usual, you can search for the invitations, which allow you to retrieve them and do some additional magic. And we have invitation statuses, like the invitation can be pending, accepted, or rejected. And as I've mentioned previously, you can also hook into the logic of creating invitations. So there are events which you can listen to, create your own subscribers, and modify anything if you feel that there is a need for that. Right now we have one endpoint for the invitation service for the REST API, and that is an endpoint for creating new invitations. And in all of this talk about the domain concepts and the new things that you should be familiar with, there is one thing that I was not mentioning on purpose, and there is one word I haven't said, and that word is content, because something that you need to understand that all the APIs, the collaboration APIs, are not limited to content. The demo that I have been showing you was built on content, and this is something that we'll be releasing, but you can collaborate on other things, you can extend the system, and after another slide about the content sharing, I will show you how you can build your own card collaboration feature so that you can share cards in the commerce system. But more about content collaboration. So the content session, the content collaboration session, has two additional properties. That is a version info and the language. We have the content session scope, which mirrors what you have seen during the demo. So we have the view and edit, and there are additional queries because you can just retrieve a content collaboration session using the content ID or the details of the content. And now let's go to the example. So let's build together a shared card collaboration session so that users will be able to share cards between each other. And I will not show you the whole code. The whole code is available on GitHub. I will just show you some concepts, but you will be able to play with this example fully when you will probably be able to look at the code, but right now the packages are not yet released. When the packages are released, I will make sure that this demo is updated and it's still working. But even now, the repository is public, and you can have a look at the full code. That is a working example, which I'll be running at the end of the presentation. So to create our own collaboration session, I've divided the process into 5 steps. And the first step is that we need to take care of the database layer, because we need to create some tables to be able to store the data about the collaboration session of this type that we are creating. So we need to be able to combine the information about the session with the card that we'll be sharing. Then we need to take care of the public API layer. So we need to create all the things that are needed to work with the public API, and we need to be able to also integrate with the database, so to store the data and retrieve it from the tables that we have just created. The third step, and I think this is the most important step, and a step that you need to spend the most of the time when designing this, is that you need to think about permissions. Because, and this is something where we really need to pause, we are talking about sharing things with people who do not have access to it by default. So we are talking about modifying the permission system. This is something where we have to be very careful and test it extremely well to make sure that we are not sharing too much and that we are not allowing access that we did not intend to allow. And the fourth step, once we have done the previous one and we are sure that it's working correctly, is that we need to create some controllers, integrate it with the rest of the application, and also the last step is just creating some templating and forms. The step that I call make it beautiful, because it needs to be beautiful for the users to love it. And let's look at the first step. So the first step is the database. You can see 4 tables here. The 3 of them, the ones prefixed with Ibexa, are the tables that already exist. So there is an Ibexa collaboration table, Ibexa collaboration content, which is the table designed to store the data about the content collaboration sessions, and the Ibexa card, which stores data about cards in our commerce packages, commerce module. The one table, when I was mentioning the database design, as you can see, it's just a simple table with 2 columns. So there wasn't a lot of designing to do, but it allows us to store information about the relationship between a card collaboration session and a card that is stored in the system. The other thing, the next step in our journey to building a card sharing example, is that we need to integrate it into the PHP API. So we need to create all these create sessions tracks, we need to create the updates tracks, we need to also create the value objects that are needed. So everything that is needed to make sure that the public API is able to work. And we also can create the session scopes. So we can decide what scopes will be available for this type of collaboration session. And we can specify the identifier, which we'll be also using when tagging the services in the Symfony container. Because we also have to implement the persistent layers to make sure that the database is integrated and we are able to store and retrieve the data. So when creating the database gateways and mappers and all of that you can find in the repository, you can use the built-in service tags like Ibexa collaboration persistent session gateway. And one important thing is that you have to specify the discriminator, which, as you can see, is the type of the collaboration session, because we allow you to have multiple types of collaboration sessions. So content collaboration session, now we are building the card collaboration session, and the code needs to know which kind of gateways to talk to be able to retrieve the correct data from the database. So we are using this information and we are storing it in the service tags. The next step is the permissions. And here we are not bypassing the permission resolver. We are decorating the permission resolver to extend the behavior. We are using the decorator pattern to make sure that if we are asked about a card policy, and if that card is part of a card collaboration session, then we allow access to that card. But in all the other places, we just fall back to the default implementation. And as usual, when decorating such a critical service as a permission resolver, you have to be very careful that you do not modify the behavior too much and that you achieve the goal that you want. So here we are checking if something is the card policy, and we are also checking if it's a shared card. And to check if the card that someone wants to access is a shared one, we are trying to retrieve the current card collaboration session, something that we'll mark in the controller later. So we'll store that information in the Symfony session to be able to retrieve it here. And if this card is indeed the one that the user is able to access using this collaboration feature, then we say, OK, this user is allowed to do so. And the getCurrentCard collaboration session method is doing something which I've just described. So we are trying to retrieve the collaboration session ID from the request stack, which you will also see when we are dealing with the controllers. Of course, you can approach this in other ways. This is just done in this POC this way, but I'm pretty sure there are other ways to do so. And we are finding the collaboration session and making sure that it is indeed a card collaboration session. So step 4, we have controllers. And I'll be creating 2 controllers. One is to create the card collaboration session. So here we get to use the new APIs. So I can create a new collaboration session. I can add a participant. And the other controller allows us to join the collaboration session. So we retrieve the session that is passed by in the root, in the URL. And here I'm doing something I've mentioned in the permission step. So I'm storing the session information in the session that you get access to that you have access to in the request. So there are 2 sessions concepts that are different, and there's a lot of sessions. And the last step is making it beautiful, integrating it into the rest of the application. So now I'd like to show you a quick demo of how it looks. And just a second. OK, so here I'm using the commerce shop as myself. So I'm able to browse the shop. And I will add 2 products to this cart. The cart of my user. And when I visit that cart, I can see that the total value of that cart is about 1,500 euros. But also I've extended this view to have this share card button, which displays this very short form, which allows me to invite someone to the card session. And what I'm doing here for the purposes of this demo, as you can see, I'm displaying two URLs here. So the first one is the direct link to the card, which I will use just to prove you that the user I'm using, the Amy user, is not able to access this card directly, so that I'm not just added the permissions that this card can be viewed by anyone. And so let me copy this link. And here I have the second window. Let me just refresh it, where I'm already logged in as the user that I have invited. And when I try to visit this card, I should get an exception that I'm not able to visit this, because I do not have the permission to view this card. But if I use the second link, and it's here, I see the card as the user which previously did not have the permissions to do so. I see the total value, but not only that, I can also just modify this card. So I can say that I would like to have this item in the quantity of 3, and I can just remove a product from this card because we won't need that. The total value is now 3,200 euros. When I get back as the original user, when I go to see the card, you can see that this card is modified. So I was able to modify the same card as two users, proving that this proof of concept is working. And now let's go back to the PowerPoint. As a summary, the LTS update of collaboration is coming soon. And what are the future plans for that? So we are planning to also add a page builder collaboration, something you might have seen today. I've seen also the demo, and it looks really promising. It looks really exciting. And we'll be also adding shopping lists. So the idea is that you also will be able to collaborate on shopping lists. And that's all that I wanted to show you today. The collaboration feature is crucial, as you saw. This is something that people expect, and this is something that we'll release very soon. And we are also hoping on another kind of collaboration, so that you will tell us what you think about this feature and how we can improve that, because this is also the kind of collaboration which helps us make Ibexa DXP better. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Marek. Yes, and now the last Q&A session for today. So do you have any questions to Marek right now? Yeah.
If not, you can just always contact me afterwards, or I'll be happy to discuss this with you. Thank you very much.
So just a few closing words from me for today. One question, yeah? If you wait a second, I will approach to you with the microphone, so Marek can hear better.
I'm not sure. Oh, thank you for connecting me again.
Yeah, in fact, it is related to collaboration, but maybe it's more related to the first presentation that we had this afternoon.
During the keynote.
Yeah, because I think I saw that in the roadmap there were the collaboration for the page builder. Is it in the future, or will it be available in
The
what you
page
presented?
builder collaboration will not be part of
Okay.
the initial
Okay,
release.
so it will be later. Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is about the permission system on content preview. Is it are you able now to preview a content that is not available on public?
You will be able to preview the content item which is not public yet, so it's just a draft.
Okay, it's just a draft. But if it is it is not public. It has been published, but it is in protected area based on some role.
Okay, so if you have like a protected section of your website, something like this,
Yeah.
not sure if it will work out of the box. It's possible that you would have to extend it a little bit yourself to also write the permission resolver to grant additional permissions so that...
Okay, as you did in the...
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more questions right now. So
Thank you once again.
thanks again.